So welcome back, everybody. I have just a couple of comments to make. My astute team here picked up on a couple things. So on the blood, you can hold it for up to 72 hours to ship it, but only if you spin it, and it must be kept in the refrigerator. Optimally, it would be shipped within 24 hours of collection. Okay. The other question that came up here in the room was if you preferred to draw the blood with a syringe and needle, which is my preference on foals or animals that are somewhat more difficult to work on, and then you can put the blood into the vacutainer tube that way. That's certainly up to you if you prefer that. So those are two clarification points on the blood. So with that, we're going to go ahead and do a PowerPoint presentation. And Dr. Allison Wiedenheft is going to go ahead and do that presentation and tell us about what's in the kits related to contents and paperwork and submission and whatnot. So, Allison?
Thanks, Josie. Hi, I joined the Equine team last summer to help with the Parasite portion of the Equine study. And I'm currently working with the team on the Biologics portion of the NAHMS 2015-16 Equine study. In this presentation, I am going to explain the basic instructions for the Biologic kits. First, I will describe the general components for all of the kits. Then I will go over the instructions for the 4 specific kits: the Parasite Kit, the Blood Sick Kit, the Blood Kit, and the Fecal Samples for Culture Kit. The Parasite Kit is the only kit that will be shipped directly by the participants to the lab during the testing. The other kits will be shipped by you, the BMO or AHT, once samples have been collected and the paperwork completed. There are 5 types of kit boxes: Parasite Box A and Box B, Blood Sick Box, Blood Box, and Fecal Samples for Culture Box. Each kit has a sticker on the outside of the cardboard box that identifies the kit type. For parasite testing, the label is called Box A and Box B. The blood tick label is called BT. The blood label is called BL. And the fecal samples for culture label is called FC. The sticker on the outside of the box also contains the kit number. You will need the kit number to complete the data collection forms. Inside the cardboard box cover, on top of the styrofoam cooler, you will find the data collection forms, instructions for how to collect samples and complete the forms, pre-printed sample labels, and a prepaid, pre-printed FedEx shipping label. Each kit box contains a styrofoam cooler, cooler pack, absorbent sheets to soak up any spills, and the supplies needed to collect the samples. Please be sure to freeze the cooler packs prior to shipping. The paperwork in each kit includes instructions, sample labels, data collection forms, and shipping labels. Sample labels have a kit number and a sample number pre-printed on them. All you need to do is add the equine name or equine ID. The data collection forms are 2- or 3-part carbonless paper, depending on the kit. The 2-part paper has a white and yellow sheet. Parasite kit forms are 3-part paper and it will have a white, yellow, and pink sheet. The FedEx shipping label is pre-printed with the lab's address. Use the provided ballpoint pen to write on the 2- or 3-part carbonless forms. Check to make sure you apply enough pressure so that your writing is clear on all copies of the form. Use the enclosed star-set permanent marker to write the equine name or equine ID on the sample label. The first type of kit I will describe in detail are the Parasite kits. The Parasite kits are different from the rest of the kits because they will be used by the participant to collect and submit samples to Dr. Nielsen's lab at the University of Kentucky for testing. You, the BMO or AHT, will need to open both Box A and Box B, write the NAHMS ID on the cooler labels inside of the box, write the NAHMS and kit IDs on the data collection forms, the sampling and submission instructions with the participants. I will go over these steps in detail in the next slides. The Parasite Kit consists of 2 boxes, Box A and Box B. Once at the operation, you, the VMO or AHT, will need to open both of the kit boxes. Inside both Box A and Box B, you will find the appropriate instructions, labels, forms, and sampling bags. Both boxes contain well-packed bags for participants to use when they collect fecal samples, and a large Ziploc bag to hold all of the sample bags. FedEx requires that samples be double-bagged to prevent leakage. The kits also include a cooler pack and an absorbent sheet to soak up any leaks. You, the VMO or AHT, need to instruct the owners to freeze the cooler packs prior to shipping. Take out the paperwork and write the NAHMS ID on the styrofoam lid label of the cooler for Box A and Box B. Check to see if the assigned kit numbers on Box A and Box B match. Then write the NAHMS ID and kit number on the top of the Data Collection Form 1 in Box A and Data Collection Form 2 in Box B. The VMO or AHT should keep a personal record of the NAHMS ID and kit number for all of the operations. This will allow us to track the parasite kits submitted by the participants without correct paperwork. While at the operation, you, the VMO or AHT, need to show the participant the pink step-by-step checklist page, the sample collection storybook, the 3-part carbonless data collection forms, and the pre-printed sample labels. Review the step-by-step instructions and sample collection storybook with the participant. Instruct the participant how to fill out the data collection forms and the sample labels. The participant will need to record the equine name, the date, and the equine sample number on the sample labels. The sample number and the equine name on the sample bag needs to match the sample number and the equine name on the collection form. The sample number in Box A also needs to correspond with the sample number in Box B. The participant will keep the pink copy of the 3-part form from Box A as a reference to help match the sample numbers for Box B. Explain to the participant that the 3-part data collection form will need to be separated when submitting the samples. The top white page should be placed inside the provided self-addressed prepaid envelope and mailed back to NAHMS. The yellow copy needs to be placed on top of the styrofoam lid before the participant closes the cardboard box. The participant will keep the pink copy of the data collection form for their reference so that the sample numbers and the equine names for Form 1 and Form 2 match. Please instruct the participant how to ship the parasite kit. After the participant places the frozen cooler pack inside the styrofoam box with the labeled samples and inserts the yellow form on top of the styrofoam box, the participant can seal the cardboard shipping box with tape and stick the FedEx air belt that is pre-addressed to Dr. Martin Nielsen on top of the cardboard box. The participant must fill out the from field on the air belt. Samples that are not shipped right away can be kept refrigerated for up to 72 hours before shipping. After Kit A samples have been collected, the participant will need to wait 10 to 14 days and then repeat the process for Kit B. Blackout shipping days and dates are provided on a page insert within the paperwork. Please be sure the participant understands the shipping day restrictions. Although the parasite kit is owner collected and submitted, the VMO or AHT has several key responsibilities. Please be sure to fill in the NAHMS ID on the styrofoam lid label for Box A and Box B. Check to make sure the assigned kit number on the styrofoam lid label on Box A matches Box B. Fill in the NAHMS ID and kit number on both Form 1 and Form 2. Keep a record of the NAHMS ID and kit number for all the operations, and instruct the participants on sample collection, data recording, and shipping procedures. The next set of kits I will be describing are the blood tick kits and the blood kits. The blood tick kit, or BT kit, contains 20 red top 10 milliliter blood tubes, vacuum cleaner needles, vacuum cleaner needle and tube holders, and hand sanitizing gel. Please double check that you're on your needle type. A BMO mentioned earlier today that a syringe needle was not included in our kit, or that a syringe needle was included in our kit instead of the vacuum cleaner needles. The kit also contains 10 tick tubes pre-filled with 5 milliliters of ethanol alcohol. The kit comes with a box for shipping the blood and tick tubes. Chances are you will not find an equine with ticks on every operation, and you will have tick tubes left over. If you do, order blood kits, BL kits, until you need more tick tubes. The blood kits, BL kits, contain 20 red top 10 milliliter blood tubes, vacuum cleaner needles, and vacuum cleaner needles and tube holders. It contains both tick and blood tube labels and tick and blood collection forms. The only differences between the blood tick kit and the blood kit is that the tick collection tubes and the hand sanitizing gels are not included in the blood kit. If you have leftover tick collection tubes from other operations, you can use those tubes with your blood kit. Sample labels are pre-printed with kit number and sample number. Just fill in the equine name or equine ID using the star-stud permanent marker provided. The label paperwork in the BT and BL kits contain a pair of labels per sample for the blood and tick samples. Not all the blood samples will have corresponding tick samples, but the sample number should match for the same equine when both samples are collected. For the red top blood tubes, write the equine name or equine ID on the label and place the label sideways on the blood tube over the paper label that's already there. This will help the label stick better to the tube. For the tick tubes, use 1 tube per equine and collect a representative sample of ticks from each site on the equine for this tube. Write the equine name or equine ID on the label with the corresponding sample number that was used for the blood sample from this equine. Place the tick tube label sideways on the tube. The edges of the label may curl, so make sure you apply enough pressure to the entire label and make sure the label is securely attached to the tube before placing the tube in the box with the blood samples for shipping. There are extra labels provided with each kit. If a labeling mistake is made, use a new label. Make sure the sample number on the label matches the sample number on the data collection form. Use a ballpoint pen to complete the 2-part carbonless data collection forms for both the blood form and the tick form. Even if no ticks are found, the tick data collection form needs to be filled out. Make sure you apply enough pressure so information is clear on a yellow copy of the carbonless forms. The last kit I will be describing today is the Fecal Samples for Culture Kit, or FC Kit. The FC Kit contains well-packed bags for the collection of fecal samples and a large Ziploc bag for double backing samples to prevent leaks during shipping. Paperwork is also included. Similar to the other kits, the FC Kit contains sample labels with kit numbers and sample numbers pre-printed on them. The data collection form is 2-part carbonless paper. Make sure the sample number on the sample bag corresponds to the sample number on the data collection form. Extra labels are provided in each kit in case a mistake is made, like in this example. A storybook for the sampling procedure is provided within the kit. Place the label on the bag and write the equine name or equine ID before collecting the sample if possible. Close the well-packed bag by squeezing out the air, rolling the bag twice, and twisting the twist ties together. following shipping instructions apply to all the kits that are shipped by the VMO or AHT. Place the completed and clearly readable yellow copy of the data collection form on top of the styrofoam lid before closing the cardboard shipping box. Take the box closed and place the FedEx shipping label on the box and add your return address. Send a white copy of the data collection form to your coordinator within 3 days. Okay, this completes the instructions for the biologic kits. Thank you for your attention, and we truly appreciate the work you'll be doing in the field to ensure quality samples and accurate data.
Thank you, Allison. So I'd like to next introduce Camilla Christensen, and she's going to talk a little bit about ordering kits and other details, and then we'll go ahead and open it for Q&A and discussion. Camilla?
Yes, hi, everyone. So I guess I just have a few reminders and some additional information. And so for the Parasite kits, there should be a label on the styrofoam box, on the cooler box. If that label is not attached to the box, you guys will have to do that. There is a chance that that label may be loose with the paperwork inside on the top of the styrofoam box. So that's just a reminder to keep an eye on that. Also, the data collection forms are stapled together, and some of them have more than one page. So when you fill those forms out, please separate them so that you don't accidentally write through 2 different pages. So keep the pages of the form separate so you don't, the pressure doesn't actually fill out 2 separate pages at once. And also make sure that you look at the paperwork before you go out to the operation, and if there's anything that's missing, please contact Abby and let her know that you need additional items. We just want to make sure, usually they're fine, but we just want to make sure that you don't end up going to the operation and are missing some critical. The kits are shipped UPS ground typically, and so it takes about a week for you to get the kits when you place the order with Abby. If there are emergency situations where you need the kit more quickly, we can accommodate that. So just try to place the orders at least a week ahead, and so that we can minimize the overnight shipping costs, because it is a lot more expensive. You can start ordering kits after this training, but NBSL is currently assembling the kits for us, so it may take a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks maybe, before you get the kits you order. Please order no more than 50% of the number of kits that you think you will realistically need before the start on May 1st. So for the first few, maybe the first couple of months of the study, NBSL is making up the kits kind of as we go. So so we can't ship you all of the kits you think you will need immediately. I think that was it. If Josie, do you have any other comments, or Allison?
Do you want to talk about the needle?
Go ahead, if you want to.
So when we open it up for Q&A, we'd like to hear from any of the coordinators as you followed along based on what Allison said should be in the kits. Were there any problems with the kits that you received regarding the supplies and paperwork based on what we said should be in? So Daniel, we'll go ahead and open it up for Q&A and comments and discussion.
All right, so before I unmute the first question, just a quick reminder to all of our participants, if you would like to ask a question, you may press #2 on your telephone keypad. You'll be notified once your line is unmuted. You may also submit any questions you may have using the chat notes. All right, let's go first to the line of Leslie Serafin.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Hi. I have a question on, I thought that I heard you say on shipping the Parasite kits that the FedEx from field had to be completed. Do we instruct the forms to put in our address, like the office from address? Because if they put their name and address in there, then it's not confidential.
Well, we talked about that, Leslie, and we have had them in the parasite studies we've done so far. They put their name and address. Martin just doesn't make any record of it when they receive it. Because if there's any problem with the package, they need to be able to get a hold of whoever sent it. So the owners have been putting their name and address. Martin's just not recording it.
So we can tell them to do that, and if anybody kind of says, wait, but that's not, complains to us, then we can just say, well, use our office address.
Sure.
Okay.
Anything else on content of kits?
I didn't get my testing kit yet, so I can't comment on that.
Camilla, when were the kits shipped?
You should have them. They'll have to look.
So Abby will check. They were shipped a couple weeks ago, I think. So where, as Abby said, the kits are going to the address you provided that's in the front of the manual. That's where the kits are going, and any other materials that we ship. But the kits were shipped from MDSL to the addresses we provided, so Abby and Camilla will follow up on that, Leslie.
Okay, thanks.
The other thing that I understood, and my team will correct me if I'm wrong, if a coordinator wants all the kits shipped to them, that's an option, and then you ship them out to your VMOs. The other option is, coordinator, you provide a list of how many kits you want to go to a certain VMO, and they can just be shipped directly from MDSL to that VMO. But again, we just need to keep a little bit of judicious ordering, because if you order all of them that you were assigned for the operations, we're not going to have that many available. So if a big state ordered all they potentially could need now, somebody else isn't going to get any. So try to order, enough to get started, and then order more as we go along.
We also have a suggestion from one of the VMOs that they should make sure they cover up the shipping label, that their shipping label, when it was shipped to them, they cover up all barcodes before they ship the boxes to the labs.
So I think what I'm hearing is a kit is shipped to a VMO, and therefore the box has a shipping label on it. So when they are going to then ship to the lab, they need to make sure this new label covers that completely.
Or if the coordinator is ordering all of the kits and then sending them on to their field people, that label needs to be removed or covered up so it doesn't confuse UPS and not scanning the right code.
So I think the key is the label to the lab has to be either the only one on there or cover up any other information on the box, on the lid.
So we did have someone comment that they received the wrong needles in their kit. They received needles for syringes rather than for the vac container holders. So please do check that before you go out. And the next kits that are coming out to you guys should have the correct needles. They should have a vac container needle.
Based on, you guys are so powerful, based on the email we got this morning, we've already been in touch with MDSL to get that corrected. But the point is, the ones that were shipped for the webinar may have the wrong kind of needles in. Any other comments? So I would like to open it up if any of the labs people from MDSL, Janet, Pear, Bruce Thompson for the blood, Jack from MDSL, if any of you have any lessons learned from previous NAHMS studies, any concerns, points you want us to make about the shipping, the kits, please open your line and let us know.
It looks like we have a question from Ray Walk.
Okay. Daniel, can you unmute? Okay.
It's
Go ahead.
Ray. I just wanted to make, I don't know if anyone else or the other coordinators have this, but my fecal collection kit had no paperwork in it at all that I opened today. So
Sounds like MDSL maybe didn't get our instructions quite right. So we'll follow up. Thank you very much, Ray. Were the other things okay?
yes, but it looks like I don't, I'm looking through the other paperwork and it doesn't look like I have label stickers for the other styrofoam coolers, other than I have it on the Parasite collection coolers, but none of the others have a sticker to stick on the cooler.
And that is how it's supposed to be. It's only the Parasite one where there's a sticker for the styrofoam box. And that's the one Camilla said when the VMO goes out, we need to make sure those get on the styrofoam box. And that's partly because owners are submitting those.
Okay, great.
Any comments from the lab, NBSL, anyone that's on? This is your chance to give insights to the VMOs about.
This is Martin Nielsen. Just one thing I forgot to mention during my presentation earlier was that we, the instructions are to not ship any fecal samples on a Friday because they'll be, shipping over the weekend, and the risk is that the ice packs will melt, and all of a sudden we don't have the controlled temperature environment. So no shipping out on Fridays, but any other weekday, Monday through Thursday works, and we'll typically receive samples in our lab on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays here. So that works well for us.
So the VMO could let the owner know if they plan to deworm on a Saturday, they can collect the samples and just keep them cool until they could ship them at the beginning of the week. Correct, Martin?
Yes, correct. And we've actually had a couple of instances where participants have been able to ship out on Sundays. I guess some FedEx facilities actually are open on Sundays. I did not know that, but that seems to be the case. And so we've been receiving samples on Mondays sometimes also that were shipped the day before.
Okay. Any other comments from the lab? Janet, Bruce, Jack? Pound 2, if you have any comments. Okay, so
we have one more question from Michael Wicker.
Okay. Michael, Pound 2, I think.
Okay, you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Your line is unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay. So the sticker on the Parasite box, there's not one on the styrofoam. There's a sticker on the cardboard where the UNL 33 usually goes.
This is Camilla. So you have a sticker on the outside that has the kit number and the type of kit, and it says box A or box B on it. Is that correct?
It says kit ID number 4. But
Right.
there's no sticker.
No sticker on the styrofoam.
In any of the boxes.
Is that correct? It's really hard to hear you. I don't know if are you on the cell phone maybe?
Yeah. There's no sticker on the styrofoam box in the Parasite.
Did you get a sticker with the paperwork that has the box A or box B, and then a place for you to write the NAHMS ID?
Well, they're tube labels, yeah, but not a.
Oh, that's it. So that there should be another sticker that you can stick on the styrofoam box. So we'll check with them on that too.
sounds like they're going to follow up with MDSL and make sure that sticker either ends up on the styrofoam box or that it's clearly part of the paperwork that comes with the box. And I think what Camilla said is if it wasn't on the styrofoam box when you received it, when you're opening it on the farm to talk about the sampling with the participant for parasites, to be sure to take that sticker and put it on the box. And she will follow up and be sure it's being included with the paperwork. Thank you, Mike. And if there are any other coordinators that don't want to speak up on the call, but as you followed along, please let us know if the kits don't have in them what Allison covered, because this is our opportunity to get that corrected before we have several hundred kits made up of the various kinds. And people at NDSL are assembling these, so they are human, and I think that's Camilla's point is you do want to check the boxes and the kits before you go to the farm just to be sure the contents are correct, because you don't want to get out there and not have something. If you check it when you're where you can substitute another kit or get in touch with us for some paperwork, that'll be much better. Any other comments or questions? I know it's getting long. Okay, so Jason, let's go to tab 6.
And hi, everybody. Sorry to interrupt. It looks like we have a question from Roger.
Okay.
Roger, please go ahead.
Did I understand right that the pre-deworming and the post-deworming kits have the same number on them? Each kit, do have identical numbers?
They have the same kit number, and then they're distinguished by box A and box B.
Okay,
And
mine have 2 different numbers on them.
Okay,
Can I just renumber them?
Let Camilla get back to you on that. I don't want to make a decision on the webinar because the kit numbering is critical because that's how we track them. So let us work that out.
We should email you the kit numbers because somebody else got to.
Can you email the kit numbers to us, Roger?
Yeah, send to Abby.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
I think we have another question from Michael. Again.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, on the box A, box B, box A says kit number 1016 and box B says kit number 1036. So.
Oh no.
Say box.
Okay, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's why we did this. So.
Okay. Then what were the numbers again? I'll write them down. Mike?
Yes?
Can you tell us those kit numbers again?
Sure. Box A, kit number 1016. Box B, kit number 1036.
Okay.
Yes, Roger got 2.
All right. Thanks. You guys are doing great. These are the problems we want to find now and get them fixed, because we certainly want to get participants' results correctly back to them, and those kit numbers are what we track. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Don McLean.
Don McLean? Clean?
With
Don?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, my parasite boxes also have odd numbers, and I think the one that I have, this number A, or letter A, has the 1036 on it, but his had for box B.
Yeah. Well,
So my box A, my box A is 1036, and my box B is 1006.
I was concerned about those parasite paperwork, so we'll be looking into that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. So to answer the question, so it's recorded on the webinar, the kit number for box A and box B should be the same for a given operation. And I think Allison had that in her presentation, so you can listen to it again. If they're not, then we need to provide new paperwork so that they match. And we'll be working with the paperwork and MDSL to try to get that squared away. Okay, any other comments, questions? Allison, any?
No, it seems like all the parasite boxes are wrong, so we got that, thanks.
And then on the needles, were there, I guess all of them had the wrong kind of needle, so we'll be getting in touch with MDSL about that. Better now than when you're out on the farm. Okay, so we're going to, those of you that are following along in the manual, we're going to tab 6. And what is in tab 6 is really important. It has the paperwork that's in the various biologic kits. So it has what we have for the parasites, blood, AMR, and ticks. And along with the example paperwork, we actually completed a CER or data collection sheet for you. So Jason, if we can go to page 13. We'll go to page 13. And Allison covered this in her presentation, but there are instructions with each of the sampling kits, and they come with every kit. Even though by the 10th time you do this, you'll probably know, we want to be sure that every kit contains the instructions. And that's the list of anthelmintic products, and they will be in color for the participants. And that's the data collection form. So for each of the kinds of biologics, we went ahead and mocked up a completed form so that you can see what we would be looking for on the form. And this was really a good thing to have done, because as we were filling it out, we actually found some things that we needed to edit on the form. So filling it out actually helped us. So for each of the kinds of biologics, in this tab, you have what will come in the kit, and then we've actually mocked up a completed data collection form or CER form. So be sure to have a look at that before you do any of your farm visits. Okay, so any, well, I don't think they have any questions on that. So let's go to tab 8, Jason. Yeah, wait a minute. Oh, it's not hot. We're going to go to tab 8. It should be right after that. Keep going. So in tab 8, I'll just start talking. Our reports, our example reports, we heard from Jason Lombard, who conducted led the dairy study, that the VMOs really like to have an example report so that the participants could see what they would get if they agreed to be in the study for these components. So the first one is an example of a parasite report, and this, if you look on page 2, has a table in it. It's got the Strongyle results. Page 3 has the Asprid results. And the first page is a lead-in about the testing that was done and parasite testing in general. So this is an example of what we send out once we have the results from Martin's lab for the parasite testing. The next page after the report in this tab is an info sheet on internal parasites. and most of the information in here Martin provided. And then the next document is the colored pictures that Abby really likes of the disease and the parasites. And again, Martin provided this to us. So every operation would get their own specific results, and then they get these general info sheets for parasites. Then the next report, those are tapeworms that Jason's going past there. The next report is a mocked-up for salmonella test results. So the first page is general information about salmonella, and then the next page has a table that would be the results of the testing. And as I said, they either get positive or negative, and for the positive, they would get which serial group they were. And I think the next document actually has one that was positive, and we put in a serial group. And then the next page, and these will be provided in color, is info sheet on salmonella, courtesy of Colorado State University. They've given us permission to use these, and that will go out with the salmonella report. Then the next page after the salmonella info sheets, doing great, Jason, is what we're anticipating coming from MVSL for the tick identification. And this will be specific to that operation. They'll have the animal identified that the ticks were found on. Tony the pony is the first one. Where it is on the animal may not be part of one of our reports, because Jack won't know necessarily if there are 10 ticks in the tube where on the animal it was, unless there was only ticks detected on one location. So he might have multiple locations where ticks were found. Identification of the ticks and how many of that type there were in the tube. That may not be the total number on the equine, but it's the number that were submitted to MVSL for identification. So an operation, if they had one animal with ticks, they'd only have one result, one equine with results. If they had multiple, then they would include those on the same MVSL report. And Jack's agreed to be available for questions about the tick ID, because we all agreed none of us were going to be able to answer the questions if people had them. So his contact information is at the bottom of the report on the second page. And then the next page is an example of what, I don't know exactly what that one is. What is that one? We have protecting your horse from ticks, and then we're planning to have an info sheet. That's right. This is a placeholder for what we plan to have for an info sheet. The Angelas are still working on this sheet, but it'd be a picture of the tick, the common name, the scientific name, and the diseases associated. And this is a really nice info sheet. They're still working on some of the terminology and taxonomy, but it's in color and quite nice. And then we have a general protecting your equine from ticks info sheet. And then the last thing in this section is the biosecurity assessment report. So we'll talk a little bit about the assessment now. So those are the reports for the biologics. So now we're going to backtrack to tab, well, let's just stop a second. So Daniel, let's just see if there's any Q&A for the reports for the biologics that the participants are going to get. Any comments from the VMOs on the reports that we're planning to provide in the info sheets?
Let's see, there have been a few hands raised. I'm not entirely sure if they pertain to this section or the last. I can unmute the lines and they can chime in. Let's do that right now.
Yes, anyone with anything we've covered so far, comments, questions? Pound 2.
All right, I believe that had to do with the last section, so I don't believe there are any questions about this one at the moment.
Okay. All right. So we will do a general Q&A for the whole webinar at the end if people still have them. Okay, so now we're going to tab 7, and that's the biosecurity assessment. And this is instructions to the VMOs on doing the biosecurity assessment. So the purpose of this assessment is for the VMO to record what they're able to see on the day of their visit. So we recognize that what we're asking you to evaluate is not the entire aspect of biosecurity. We're going to get some of the biosecurity activities from the questionnaires related to what they do with newly arriving equine, for example, because you may not see a newly arriving equine on the day of your visit, so that's owner reported. So we tried to come up with aspects of biosecurity and infection control that you could actually visualize. And so we have questions that we ask you to respond to for the various categories that we believe you would be able to evaluate during your visit. And then we plan to generate a report based on what you provide to us as your assessment. So for example, question 1 is about whether the feed is stored in rodent-proof containers. So we actually have some photographs that illustrate what you potentially might see and whether you would be able to say it is rodent-proof or it's not. The second question is about access to surface water. And again, we have text to describe that, and we also have photographs. So for each question that we ask you about equine housing and cleanliness and pasture maintenance and insect activity, we've given you examples because we do want to try to keep this as consistent across operations and across states as possible. And so we've tried to provide examples and text to go with each of the questions that we're asking you to evaluate. And then the participants are going to receive a copy of the report. After you get through the text and the photos, it's the actual on-site biosecurity assessment check sheet. And you can see that for most of the items, it's going to be a yes-no. Jason's getting there soon. Most of them are going to be a yes-no response on your part, although some of them are more categorical, like high, moderate, low, non-NA, for example. And again, we do plan to generate a report, and that's in Section 8 where we just were with the biologics to the participants. So are there any questions or comments related to the biosecurity assessment? I think the key is to acknowledge that this doesn't contain all of the aspects of biosecurity. They're ones that we felt on a single visit the VMO would be able to assess. People may be getting tired. Any comments or questions on the biosecurity assessment?
Ken, do you have a question?
That's correct. Let's go ahead and unmute Ken's line. Give me 1 second. Oh, actually, Ken, it looks like you haven't linked your audio device. Could you please press #2 on your telephone keypad? Terrific. Give me 1 second. All right, please go ahead.
Maybe you covered this earlier, but what does the producer get from the biosecurity assessment that we do?
They're pretty much, if you look in tab 8 at the very last part of that, we've actually mocked up a report example. So they're essentially going to get what you say. Is the feed stored in rodent-proof containers, yes or no? And then we have a little bit of information about what risk not having it in a rodent-proof container could pose. So we have a biosecurity assessment handout. So it says storage of feed and water The use of rodent-proof containers to store concentrate feed. If they're not storing it in rodent-proof containers, the risk is that rodents and other animals are attracted to equine feed and can transmit disease agents by contaminating food that is then fed to the equine. So we've tried, they will get your assessment, and then this handout will help them understand if they're choosing not to take an action, what risks they might be accepting. We're not saying they need to change their management. We're saying if you don't do this, here's the risks that you're accepting. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine. Are they getting the, am I handing them the response there, or that'll all be turned in and then they'll get another piece of paper in the future that tells them what the assessment was? Because they'll be there at the, they basically will know the answers to everything they've just given.
Yeah. So I think it's fine for you to talk about what you're seeing with them and say, you know, it looks like these maybe aren't rodent-proof containers. We don't want you to leave the form with them. We want you to send it to us and we'll generate a report. The reason to do that, you could say, well, you know, they're there and they see it. But on some of these farms, you know, it could be whoever you're meeting with and takes you around may not be the person that is managing the farm. As you walk around, particularly for this, they may assign someone to show you around the facility who's not necessarily, say, the farm manager who really needs this kind of information. So you're free to talk to them about biosecurity and what you're seeing, but we want the paperwork, not to have you leave it there, and we'll generate a report.
Sure. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Do we have other comments or questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. So tab 9, Jason. What we have in there are just some hard copy examples of previous NAHMS study reports and info sheets. We also have clearly put the link to the NAHMS website. So when you're on site, if people are saying, well, what comes out of this study, how is it reported, you could go, if you have a device with you, an iPad or a laptop, you could go to the NAHMS site and show them some of the reports and info sheets, make them aware where those are available. We've just included a couple examples, cover of one of the reports and contents. Obviously, we didn't include all 107 pages of that report, for example. But we've heard from VMOs and whatnot that it's very helpful to have in the manual examples of what comes out of the study. So that's why those are there. So I think that we've covered the manual in its entirety, but not page by page or question by question. This webinar is recorded, and Jason will review it and divide it up into sections based on the file size. And today is Wednesday, so we hope maybe next week to have it, middle of next week.
That should be okay, yeah.
So maybe a week from today, approximately. And we certainly can send out an email to the coordinators when it's up and available, just so that you're aware of that. Any questions that you think of, you didn't want to ask during the webinar, any issues, please let Abby know via email, and if she can't answer it, she'll track us down. You should all the coordinators should have your manuals and questionnaires and product lists. A point of clarification, Abby didn't print as many questionnaires and product lists as your total assignment, because we don't believe 100% participation is going to happen. So she went with her best estimate of how many she thought you would end up having across your entire state. The questionnaire is on the website. Abby's also willing to print more when you need them, if you need them. And then I believe I heard Camilla say the coordinators could start to put in requests for kits now through Abby. However, we're not sure yet when they'll be shipped. We have some issues to deal with on content and whatnot. So it's going to be sometime in the middle of April or so that we think the kits would actually be shipped that you order. Any parting comments from the team? Abby, anything from you? No. Field-wise? Camilla? Anybody else? Okay, I think, oh, sorry.
We have a question from Lynn Riley.
I didn't have a question.
You didn't have a question?
Yes, I believe that's what she said.
Okay, all right. So we really rely on the coordinators to help us with a lot of the implementation of the study. And not everybody does it the same, as we talked about already. For those of you that are new to the coordinating role, we're happy to have more questions from you. We also have some very seasoned coordinators that are participating in the study. So certainly we can link you up with them if you have, how do I do this, or what worked for you type questions. We can certainly try to link you up to get those things answered. And I don't want to forget to say the letters to the 949 operations that agreed to be contacted for Phase 2 were mailed on Friday. So we would anticipate that they would have been received by April 4th. So we'd ask that you not start making phone calls to set up visits until after April 4th. And keep in mind not to make it for the next day, because you may not have a kit yet, so we're saying no visits before the beginning of May. But you certainly could get on the calendar and get it set up. One other parting comment, Tom usually brings up the question about boarding facilities and the biologics. One option, if you know it's a boarding facility, based on your initial phone call and whether the owner of the boarding facility can speak for the owners. One suggestion we had was for the manager of the facility to create a sign-up list among their boarders that they could initial and say, yeah, I want my horse checked for ticks, or I'm okay having blood taken, so that when you get there, you have an idea of who's okay and willing to participate in the biologics section. The other would be to go and complete the questionnaire and then implement the sign-up sheet and make a second visit to do the biologics. So I think those are my parting comments. I think people are ready to be done. You also, all the coordinators should have gotten your USB keys with PII on them. If for any reason you haven't received them, please let Abby know. If you haven't received those kits, they were shipped to where Abby thought they should be shipped, so please let her know and she'll follow up. She has tracking, or NDSL should have tracking to know where those kits ended up. Okay, I'm going to sign off. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.